I'm Elizabeth, a literary princess. If you are new here, welcome. I have a PhD in English literature with a focus on Victorian women novelists, and as you might expect, I love to read. Today I have my January wrap-up for you. So I read 7 books this month, despite not being in much of a reading mood, as I talked about in my most recent currently reading video. I spent a lot of time playing Tiny Bookshop on the Nintendo Switch, and I also spent some time watching Heated Rivalry on HBO. So reading was not, I just wasn't feeling it for a lot of this month. But I did still manage to get through 7 books, so that's pretty good. I did not manage to finish Mary Barton for my Elizabeth Gaskell project, which I'm kind of disappointed in myself. Because girl, come on, it's the start of the project. But it's fine, I am going to be finishing it very early on in February, so it's fine, it's fine. So we've got 7 books to talk about. Let's jump in. First up is a carryover from December that was finishing off the 18th century novel project. This is Camilla by Frances Burney. I have done a whole video on this, as well as a ranking video of all of the 18th century novels that I read for the project. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. It's too long, in my opinion. Your mileage may vary. There were parts that I was like, okay, you could have cut this out. But I'm not going to talk about it too much because I have gone on at length about it twice now. But ultimately, I did really enjoy it, and yeah, 4 stars. Next, I picked up one that was on my TBR from the TBR Tarot, and this is Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I hope so. I'm sorry. If not, I try. This is a Nigerian author, and we are following Yejide, who has been married to her husband for a while, but they have not had any children yet. And she really wants a child, and the family is putting pressure. And then his mother shows up on their doorstep one day with this second wife that he has married in the hopes that she will be able to become pregnant. And Yejide is not happy with this for many reasons, but largely because they both had said, no, we're not into the whole polygamy thing. So this is really a very character-focused book. Focused on both Yejide and her husband, Akin, I don't know how to pronounce things ever, sorry. We go back and forth between focusing on them to see what is going on in this marriage, and yeah. I don't think I'll say any more than that because there's a lot that happens, even though it's very character focused, and I don't want to spoil anything. I thought this was fantastic. Wow. The title, Stay With Me, has so many different meanings throughout the book too. I loved it. Yeah, no, this was great. I have it as a 4-star, but honestly it should be a 4.5. So I don't know why I did that, because this is definitely a 4.5. This was fantastic. It's beautifully written. Just fascinating book. And I'm really wanting to start reading more Nigerian literature because I have liked everything I have read, which has been this, The Thing Around Your Neck by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, and My Sister the Serial Killer, whose author I'm not remembering right now. But I have really enjoyed all of them, and like this is a culture that I have really no experience with, and it's very interesting learning about it through reading these books. And yeah, I would highly recommend this. It's so well written, and it's really, really emotional and really beautiful. Yeah, 4.5 stars, despite the fact that I have only written it down as 4. I need to fix that. Next, we go to one that I read on audiobook, and this is A Mirror Mended by Alex E. Harrow. This is the second book in the Fractured Fables. I think it's a duology. We are following Zinnia Gray. She has the power, as we found in the last book, to go into these different versions of Sleeping Beauty. She is diagnosed with this disease that nobody has lived past 21. We dealt with all that in the first book. Now we are moving on with what does she do next? And in this one, she ends up getting pulled into a version of Snow White. And I won't say any more other than that because I don't want to spoil the first book either. But I really enjoyed this just as much as the first one. I just love Harrow's like clear love of fairy tales and like all the different variations and her knowledge about all this stuff. I will say that I don't know Snow White quite as well as I know some of the other variations of Sleeping Beauty. So, but it was still really fun, and I really enjoyed the character of the evil queen, who we meet and get to know, and who might not be so evil after all. Yeah, this was a great follow-up, and very kind of bittersweet at the end, but that's all I'll say. And I gave this 4 stars. It was the same narrator as the first book, and I can't remember her name, even though she did such a good job. Like, I really highly recommend these on audiobook. They're a lot of fun. And they're short, they're novellas, so I think they're like 3 hours each. Not that I like read this over a really stupid amount of days, considering how short it is, because again, I was not in the mood for reading, even on audiobook, but yeah, no, this was a great retelling, and I had a lot of fun. Next up, I continued my journey through Agatha Christie's Poirot series with 3-act tragedy. So 13 guests come for dinner, and one of them drops dead while drinking a cocktail, despite the fact that the cocktail is not poisoned. One of those guests is Hercule Poirot, the famous detective. This was great. I enjoyed this very much, as I have enjoyed all of them. I was super impressed with myself. I guessed one of the aspects of the mystery, not the whole thing, but like one thing. I was like, oh yeah, I bet it's that, and I was right, and I was really pleased with myself. Because usually I don't figure anything out with these. But yeah, this was an interesting set of characters, a really interesting mystery itself, and it's always fun to see Poirot because he's just, I will say, he like didn't start featuring until more like the second half. Like, he was there at the beginning, but then he was gone for a while, and we were just following the characters, largely Sir Charles Cartwright and his friend, whose name is not in the Goodreads summary, so I don't know what it is. But unlike other ones where Poirot doesn't show up until later on, I never found this one slow. I was really having a good time with it. I gave it 4 stars. It's not as good as like Murder on the Orient Express or The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. Like, like, the only one that I'm expecting might live up to those two is Death on the Nile, because that's the other like really famous one from this series, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, excellent, excellent mystery, 4 stars. Next, we come to a book that I found out about through the game Tiny Bookshop. I've been getting some great recommendations. And this is Sorcery and Small Magics by Mega Ducey. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that. I can't pronounce anything. So this is the first book in a trilogy. The other ones are not out yet. And we are following Leo Vander Lovage, who is at this school for, do they call them magicians here? Yeah, yes, maybe. Sorcerers. And his relationship with his rival, Sebastian Grimm, when accidentally Leo is cursed to have to obey everything Sebastian tells him to do. And they are trying to figure out, how do we break this curse, because it is incredibly inconvenient. And they are just not happy to have to be anywhere near each other. And it is a slow burn romance. Very slow burn, okay? Very slow burn. Very. Like, you know, enemies to lovers type thing. And I had a great time. This is a fascinating magic system. There's 2 types of sorcerers. There's casters, and then there's, I think they called them scrivers. So the scrivers actually write the spell, but the casters have to be the ones to say, to like cast it, say it out loud, and then the piece of paper that it's written on like burns up. It's a really interesting system, and I really am looking forward to more books being released so that I can explore this world more, because it seems like there's a lot you can do with it. I liked the characters, I liked their relationship and seeing it develop, and yeah, I gave this 4.5 stars. I thought it was fantastic. And again, I'm really looking forward to more books coming out, which I hope they will kind of soon. And then I finished one that I have been meaning to read for years. And this is Princess Napraxine by Ouida. I am so pleased with myself for finally finishing this. And I really liked it a lot. So we're following Nadine Napraxine, who is this kind of female dandy figure. She has lots of men who are in love with her, but she's completely indifferent to all of them. She's just kind of bored with life. She does things to amuse herself, but they only last for a little while. And her relationship with Count Othmar, who is in love with her. And when she rejects him, he goes out and marries this young, very innocent girl who's like 16. Isolt? It's spelled with a Y at the beginning, so I don't know. But he's not in love with her. He's in love with Nadine Napraxine. And so it's this conflict regarding who people are in love with, how are they going to live their lives, and all this. And I really did enjoy it very much, even though it took me forever to get through. I liked the character of Nadine. She's like kind of deliciously awful. Like, you're like, wow, you're a terrible person. But it's also kind of fun. There are these gorgeous, lush descriptions of everything, which Ouida is famous for. And I really liked Isolt. Isolt? Isolt. I am saying it right, kind of. Anyway, I really liked her. I liked her story. She is this young, impoverished noblewoman who, because she has no money as a dowry, is expected to go into a convent and become a nun. But she falls in love with Othmar, and then he feels sorry for her, so he marries her. and she gets like thrust into this fashionable world that she is not used to. And I just really enjoyed her. It's like the classic, like we have an ingenue and then we have like the worldly woman on the other side, and there's tension and there's a man caught in between them. It's like a very typical plot, but I liked her. I liked following Iseult. I liked seeing her character development. My heart kind of broke for her quite a lot, but so yeah, this was great. I give this 4 stars and I'm so glad that I finally read it. And then we go to the final book, which was one of my most anticipated releases of the year. This is The Swan's Daughter by Roshani Chokshi. So this was slightly disappointing. So I thought this was a Swan-like retelling, and I could have sworn that that's what the Goodreads summary said. This is not a Swan-like retelling. I really wouldn't see this as a retelling technically at all, although some people have said it's an Ugly Duckling retelling, but... and now the Goodreads summary doesn't say anything about Swan Lake, so I'm like, did I hallucinate that? Did I get that from somewhere else? I don't know, but it's not a Swan Lake retelling. There are people who turn into swans, but it is not a retelling of Swan Lake. So we have our 2 main characters, Prince Eris, who is expected to be choosing a bride from this tournament of brides. And due to a poorly worded spell, the heir will marry, and the person who becomes queen will be whoever holds his hand and heart. And people take the heart part very literally and are trying to kill him to become queen. So he's like fully expecting to die. And it's interesting magic. They have 2 lives. And so your first life is like your person. And then your second life, you come back as like a tree or a plant or a rock. And you live like that for a while. It's very odd. But yeah. So he's got like all these murderous brides, and then we have Demelza, who is a Veritas Swan, which means that her song will force people to say the truth. And she is fleeing from her father, who wants to carve out her heart to use to gain immortality. And so she is seeking protection, and she's like, hey, I can help you. I can figure out who here wants to kill you and who is legit, and you can give me protection. And so they start working together. So I did really enjoy this. I had fun, and I liked the relationship between Demelza and Eris. I thought they were cute. Like, he makes her pastries and stuff. It was adorable. However, I never felt like anyone was in actual danger. Like, this says it's a possibly doomed love story as the subtitle, and I never felt that. Like, even though there were people literally trying to murder Eris, I was like, yeah, nah, you're fine. Like, I felt like there were no stakes. And I also never felt like Demelza's father was actually going to hurt her either. So it like kind of fell flat. And especially some stuff at the end was just like it did not feel like there were any stakes involved. That said, it is a very interesting world with fascinating magic, and I would be interested to read more set in this world just because there seemed like there is so much you can do with it. I also really liked Eris's sister, Ithal, who is a total badass and like keeps him from getting murdered so many times because he's an idiot, and it's just like he sees a pretty face and is like, I'm in love with her, and then she tries to murder him, and then his sister stops her and is like, no wonder you almost get murdered like constantly. I really liked her, and there's a relationship between her and somebody else that I really, really liked. But yeah, no, it just didn't feel like there were any stakes. And like maybe part of this is that I was expecting a Swan Lake retelling, which this is not. But it never felt like this romance was going to be doomed. Ever. Ever. Like the whole time. It didn't feel like that. So I gave this 3.5 stars. I did like it. I enjoyed the relationship between the main characters. I like Chakshi's writing and I like her world building, but the stakes just weren't there. So that is what I read in January. Let me know down in the comments. Have you read any of these? What did you think of them? What did you read in January? If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of my bookish content. It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.